Good morning, and here we are at Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta, Global Time Attack Round 1. It's a beautiful day out here in Brazelton, Georgia. We're just trying to make sure we get some laps in before the weather gets too crazy. Group 4, Session 1 has just gone hot on track. Group 4, Session 1. They're being led out by Kevin Parlett in his Infiniti G35. Those of you that have been with us for a while know Kevin Parlett's been racing in this series since basically the beginning. Big part is this is a completely rebuilt car. He spent the last couple seasons getting it back together and doing what everyone else does, throwing an LS in it. There we go, folks, and we are hot. Track is green. That was Kevin Parlett's LS powered G35 you heard going across start finish in the beginning, being followed closely by Brandon Luthi in his enthusiast clad Volkswagen Golf R. It looks like in this early session we only have two drivers on a hot lap. So Kevin Parlett's car obviously much faster than Group 4, but it is its first event back out. He hasn't had much time to put down laps and anger in competition, so I'm sure by lunchtime or the beginning of day 2 we're going to see him in the proper group running some significantly faster lap times. Looks like we have Kevin Fu, limited class Acura Integra, just start his hot lap. And there it is, Kevin Parlett's very first lap in competition with his G35 at a 144.068. So to give you some reference here, the unlimited rear-wheel drive record is a 124.206 held by Cable Rosenberg in his naturally aspirated Dodge Viper, who sadly could not make it to this event. We do have Brandon Luthi here with a 151.809 enthusiast front-wheel drive. He's about 10 seconds off the record held by Anthony Cuthbert in his Honda Civic Type R. And it does look like we have some late starters here. So Kevin Vu laid down a 149.284, but Andrew Purvis and Moni Sar have started their laps. Andrew Purvis in his limited class car and Moni Sar in his enthusiast class car. Looks like we have a Honda Civic EG on Moni Sar. Andrew Purvis in his first lap time there in his Ford Mustang GT, a 147.961, while Kevin Parlett shaves 3 seconds off from lap 1 to lap 2. It's pretty obvious he's going to be getting faster lap by lap. Once you get a little bit of confidence and heat in that car, We expect him to do very well. So for those of you watching and wondering, we do grid these cars based on something called speed differential. It's to make sure that the run groups are as close to each other as possible. So you will see different colors on the leaderboard. You will see different cars from different classes on track together. And we release them from fastest to slowest of session with a 5 to 7 second gap. That way you get 1 to 2 flyers with no concern of running into any other cars. So for point of reference from what you're looking at right now, Kevin Parlett, it's black next to his name. That is an unlimited class car. Mr. Purvis here, it is blue next to his name. That is a limited class car. Brandon Luthi in fifth place has yellow next to his name. That is enthusiast class. The only thing we're missing here right now is street class, which would be green, and pro comp, which I believe is white. It is a beautiful day here at Brazelton. I think the biggest thing we love here is the ability to have these drone shots. This track is so rough when it comes down to actual vision of track. When you're sitting here on the front straight as a teammate and all you can do is see your driver come down from 12 and up one, and that's the end of it. So luckily for us, we do have drone coverage. We have a great team here. Looking to see some fast lap times. World famous S's here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. They're very give and take. You want to attack them hard, but it's so easy to lose lap time by over attacking the first section and just pushing the car offline. This is going to be the fastest section of the S's. This is where you exit out and try and carry as much speed down this straight. Nice right-hander down the long straight heading towards 10A and 10B. Depending on the class, depending on the car, we can see speeds upwards of 170 miles an hour before the braking zone into 10A, 10B. It does look like we have an enthusiast class car going slow on the inside down 12. Maybe he made a mistake. Maybe he just wants to get out of the way of other cars. But we finally are starting to get a full set of people on track. Leading this session so far still is Kevin Parlett. He has only laid 2 flyers. His first flyer was a 144, the second was a 141. Picked up 3 seconds lap to lap. It does look like he's going out there to our grid to be resent. He probably had tire pressures checked and just wanted to talk with his team really quick. Like usual, we never put a car out in front of another car. We want to make sure there's a good run there. To anyone wondering, we can throw the schedule up for you a little bit later, but I just want you to know what's going on. We're at Group 4, Session 1 right now. We're going to run Groups 4 through 1, 15-minute sessions. So Group 4, Session 1 will be followed by Group 3 at 8:20. We have a nice little 5-minute break between to give people time to get off track and make sure everybody gets the complete amount of track time. There's nothing but love when we see old 90s Hondas here in Time Attack. These are the cars that started this sport, started this series across the world, so it's great to see them out here still competing. Looks like that's Kevin Vu and his Acura Integra, running a 145 fastest lap so far. He was on a cool down, so he ran a 217. Looks like he wants to go set a flyer right now. That's Drev Bazaar at a 149.053 in his BMW. We can see the rain clouds coming in. We're expecting rain, but the one beautiful thing about this event is you never know what you're going to get. We'll have one year where it's sunny and fantastic, and then we'll have another year where we have perfect weather, and then we'll have another year where it rains. Now, these early sessions are going to be very important to these drivers because if this rain does roll in, it rolls in pretty hard usually. So it's going to be hard to set any kind of significantly faster lap time short of this first session. That's going to be Taylor Baytek right there, running about a second off of his fastest lap time. They should be getting a checkered flag any moment now, so anyone here on a flyer should stay hot. Next time we get a drone shot above the S's, we'll see if that car stranded on the side of the road has moved or not. Here we have Group 2 lining up. Group 3, Session 1 lining up, since we are going backwards from 4 to 1. Looks to be led out by a brand new 86. I believe that's being driven by Brian Tyson. Could be Corin Tyson actually driving, if I'm not mistaken. So let's go over who's going to be in Group 3 while we're getting these grids set up. We're going to have Mr. Tony Fuentes in his BMW G80. We do have another Civic stranded. I believe this is the car that we saw earlier. This may be the Nicholas Bright Roberto Velasquez Honda Civic here stranded if it's car 999. While they're going to get this sorted, they're going to have to get safety out there to see what's wrong, maybe even pull them off track. So going out in Group 3, we're going to have Tony Fuentes in his BMW G80. He is a local favorite, has been competing with GTA for quite some time, followed by Jake Graham in his number 55 Subaru WRX. Drew Turner in his Toyota Supra, followed by Gabe Finger in his Subaru BRZ. Gabe Finger is sharing another car also. He was in Group 4, a Scion FRS with Nathan Kuntz. Gregory Formoso in his Evo 10 will be followed by then Corin Tyson, then Chris Rice, Brad Baucklam, Robert Rustin, and KN Ding in his Ford Focus RS. That's going to be Group 3, Session 1 going out. Here we do have enthusiast class rules for you. So this is a quick overview. Driver obviously must be registered owner. We do not have any power mods in any class. OEM transmissions only, so you can obviously switch from an auto to a manual if you'd like, but it has to be from the same manufacturer. Very minimal aero mods. We run a 220 or higher tread wear tire. They have with restrictions in street and enthusiast and limited, just not unlimited. 255s in all-wheel drive, 285 in rear and front-wheel drive. Engine swaps are allowed, but it has to be something available in the chassis. And people kind of question that; they don't quite understand. So, let's say you have an EG Honda Civic, you could put a B series in it because it came with that in Japan. Street class is a pretty big bump up, lap time wise and modification wise. It's not that much stuff of a difference, but you get to run a better Advan AO52. You get a good amount of aero. You can actually start gutting the interior of the car, which helps you use those unlimited engine mods to put the power to the ground. Engine swaps are limited to same manufacturer, and you can go up or down 2 cylinders. So if you had a 4-cylinder before, you could go up to a V6. Limited class is where it really starts to open up, so pro drivers are allowed. Obviously, unlimited engine mods. Sequentials are now allowed, but no paddle shift unless factory. If you get a sequential, you have to still use the rod. You can use the AO52 of any tire size, and this is where engine swaps become open. This is where you can LS your 240 or your G35, or take a Honda motor and put it in your Toyota. A lot of K-Series MR2s get run, stuff like that. Unlimited class is the namesake. It is unlimited. Pro drivers allowed, unlimited engine mods, sequentials with paddle shift. Aero mods are completely open. You have to run the A005. You can also run the AO52, but to be an unlimited class and run a treaded tire versus running a slick is a big difference. And again, engine swaps are open. You can get as crazy as you want. Group 3 will be going hot in a moment. Here is today's schedule for you. We're going 8 to 9:15. That is session 1. That goes 4, 3, 2, 1. Group 4 just finished. We will take a quick break, be back at 10:05. 10:05 to 11:20. From 11:25, we will be on lunch till 12:40. Then right back at 12:45 to 2. While we're here, obviously want to give a huge shout out to all of our sponsors: Yokohama Tires, Garrett Advancing Motion, Ineos Oils, Ignite Race Fuels, CSF Radiators, Raise Wheels, Competition Clutch, Meister Watches, Revolution Media, the best media company in the business, and DabX. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do this. Because we should have been hot too. This right here is why we do put a 5 minute buffer between all of our sessions. That way people don't necessarily lose track time. We should have been hot a couple minutes ago, but we do have to get that car pulled off. Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta has some of the best safety in the industry, so they do things very quickly, but these drivers are ready to go. Looks like our chief tech steward and lead of grid, Tony, is speaking to someone right now on the radio, just waiting for the okay to send. 2 minutes. He puts up 2 minutes. We'll be going hot. This group is very excited to go out. We do have some drivers that have been with us for quite some time. The good thing about having a cold track is we don't have to wait for them to pull the car the complete opposite direction, the complete length of the track. He went down in the S's, which is very close to track on. So, boom, we're just going to pull him back in here. That way we can get this going hot. Here we go. They're going hot. This is Tony Fuentes and his number 11 G80 BMW, being followed by Jake Graham and his Subaru WRX. Drew Turner in the number 90 Toyota Supra right behind him. Gregory Formosa in his Evo 10. Everyone recognizes that car no matter where it is here in the United States. Brad Bauckham in his Mitsubishi Evolution 10. We have two Evo 10s back to back. Not a car we see that much of. It's great to see him out here. This is going to be Robert Rushton in his Honda Civic Type R, being followed by K.N. Ding in his Ford Focus RS. At the very back of that, it does look to be Gabe Finger in his Subaru BRZ. The weather does not seem to be rushing its way in very quickly. It does look like we're going to have a clean session one, but I don't want to give these drivers the commentator's curse. Let's see some fast lap times before this weather rolls in. It gets a little exciting out here when it rains. If it's not too crazy, the lap times still keep happening. And then in the afternoon, if you're here in Braselton, Georgia at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, you'll get to see some Formula Drift in the rain also. Tony Fuentes just started his first hot lap. This is how quick he did his warm up. We have the last car coming through the S's from being released, and Tony Fuentes is on a flyer. We do have a car running very slowly down the back straight. Hopefully, it's not too big of an issue and they can bring it back under their own power. It's not very common to see a car going that slow down that straight, but this is Gregory Formosa also starting his lap. This is the enthusiast class Evo 10. I can't quite tell from this angle, but I do believe that is the other Evo 10 of Brad Bauckham that is going slowly down the back straight. Looks like Brad could not get over to pit in. He's going to have to come into the pits on the FD side and come around. He wanted to make sure he was safe and not in the way of any drivers coming through. Drew Turner running the fastest lap time of this session, a 1:34.181 in his Toyota Supra. Tony Fuentes was on a flyer, but he did get held up a little bit by the car on the back straight. He had to go slow through 10A and 10B before going down 12. It is a really crucial part of the lap, so losing a second or two there is going to hurt. I'm sure we'll see Tony with another flyer soon. Jake Graham in the limited class, 1:39.377, third fastest of the session. Gregory running a 1:43.937. For a point of comparison, people always ask, what do these times mean? The all-wheel drive record is held by a Lancer Evolution from 2021, and Mr. Ray Clance at a 1:37.296. So Greg is about 6 seconds off that fastest lap. These drivers are still getting in the groove. This is the first session of the day, but they're really going to want to push to be able to get the fastest laps they can. The weather does look like it's going to roll in, though we have had many events where it looked like it was going to roll in and it didn't. I wouldn't trust that here in Braselton, Georgia, because Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta is known to have some pretty aggressive rain from time to time. So looking at the radar here in race control, we do see that there is a large weather pattern coming in directly at us, but luckily what they're letting me know is it's green and not red. So obviously if we do get some rain, it's not going to be torrential downpour that's just going to wash us out from the get-go. Obviously these drivers still want to put these laps in the dry. It is physically impossible to go faster in the wet than it is in the dry, so any times they set right now will be very crucial for the weekend. Turn 12 is the most high commitment corner of this track, possibly one of the most high commitment corners here in the United States, mainly because there is no runoff. When you're coming down 12 and your car is loaded, you have to commit. Anything else puts you in the grass, which could put you into the wall. And seeing drivers pushing that hard down 12 this early just shows how eager they are to set these lap times. It's now or never to them. And that's how it always should be in Time Attack. It's now or never. There is no next session in your mind. We have to do it now. But with the rain looming, with the weather over their heads, with them driving up the S's and seeing those rain clouds, all they're thinking is, I have to set a lap time right now. Drew Turner still running the fastest lap of this session at a 134.181. He did that on his very first lap. And it looks like it's the only lap he's done because he came back in. We haven't seen him again. Tony Fuentes within 7/10 of him at a 134.858. Meanwhile, Drew Turner proves me wrong. He just came into the pits, came out, did his warm-up lap, so he's going to go for a flyer again. Jake Graham, third fastest in this session with a 138.278, followed by Robert Rushton in his Honda Civic Type R at a 139.126. Gregory Formosa running a 141.729, about 2 seconds faster than his first flyer, but about 4 seconds off the record. If you are just joining us, we are here in Braselton, Georgia, Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. Global Time Attack Round 1. This is Group 3, Session 1 going on. This is the driver's first time out on track, but with the weather looming, with rain coming directly at us, these drivers are really eager to get out here and run lap times. We do run our groups on speed differential, so this is Group 3 of 4. Coming up after that will be Group 2, and then, of course, the fastest Group 1. There's Drew Turner really pushing it. Running a 133.576. That is his fastest lap of this session on his third lap. This is the weather that the drivers see coming through the track. No matter which direction you look, it is a little dark, but realistically speaking, this is where it's really coming from. It is overcast. The track temperatures are not optimal. The sun hasn't been able to put some heat into the track. It also adds to the risk factor coming down 12. This is why people have been getting so squirrely. But these drivers know they have to push right now because there is a chance that they won't be able to push later. Looks like we do have drivers pulling in. That was Drew Turner coming in at the end of his cool down. He is leading this session with a 133.576. He set that on his third lap. He has been running very well here. We do remember Drew from his Honda S2000, that beautiful Japanese livery car. He's been running with us here for quite some time, and it's great to see him out here in his Supra and really laying down flyers. and that is going to be checker flag for Group 2, Session 1. We should have, or Group 3, Session 1, we should have Group 2 gridded up. Group 2 should be led out by Brian Tyson in his Honda Civic Si, being followed by Jonathan Wheeler in his Nissan 370Z. We're going to have Matt Bohall in his Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution, followed by Zachary Sober in his Subaru STI, Jeremy Lauder in his Chevrolet ZL11 LE, followed by Chris Johnson in his Skyline GTR. Corey Ross in his BMW M3, followed by Jamie Santos in his BMW 1 Series. We're going to have Sean Bassett in that gorgeous Datsun 240Z, followed by Patrick Laughlin in his Rush SR. Here is today's schedule. For those of you just tuning in, we are in the middle of Time Attack Session 1. Group 2 is gridded up and ready to go out. They're going to be followed by Group 1. These drivers do want to get out here and run the fastest lap they can right now as the weather is looming. So Group 2, Session 1 should be gridded up and ready to go out. As you can see, that beautiful Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta tower. They've done a lot of updates to this track over the years, and it is one of the most beautiful places to work. It's one of the most beautiful places to race. These drivers love it. Wanted to give you a high shot here. We are looking at the radar. The weather is getting closer. It's getting to the point where the drone pilot can start to notice it. These are the clouds here in the background, and though we haven't seen any rain yet, they are coming in strong. little bit of weaving to get some heat in the tires, get all the debris off. The track temps are not optimal right now, so drivers are going to do everything they can to get as much grip as possible before starting their flyer. That right there is Mr. Brian Tyson in his turbocharged Honda Civic Si, starting his first hot lap, followed by Jonathan Wheeler in the enthusiast class Nissan 370Z. It's an unlimited class Chevrolet ZL11LE being driven by Jeremy Lauder. For those of you that just heard that car fly by, that is Sean Bassett in his 240Z. This is the Russ SR of Patrick Laughlin. This is a Pro Comp car, just like Sean Bassett's 240. So for those of you curious what Pro Comp is a class that does not fit within traditional time attack. It's a tube chassis car. It's cars that were not VIN related when they were first produced. The premise of time attack is taking a car that you bought off of a dealership, modifying it and racing it. So things like the Rush SR that are built track cars, things like Sean Bassett's complete tube chassis 240Z, which would not fit within a traditional time attack class, can still come out here and compete. Here are the rules up here if you're watching our stream. Basically everything that is allowed in Unlimited is allowed in Pro Comp. On top of the fact you can run tube chassis, kit cars, factory prep race cars, that could be a Porsche Cup car, that could be a Super Trofeo Lamborghini. All of these vehicles you can buy specifically for racing are used here in Pro Comp. Jonathan Wheeler did set the fastest lap so far of a 138.126. Looks like Brian Tyson came in before completing a lap, so unsure if he's running into some issues or if he just wanted to come in, have a few things checked before he goes back out. Jamie Santos, 135.732 in his BMW. The enthusiast rear-wheel drive record is a 135.219 held by Steve Green from 2016. That's what Jonathan Wheeler is chasing right now. Patrick Laughlin in that SR running up 144.523. Meanwhile, Zachary Sober with his first flyer of a 136.630. He would be the fastest enthusiast driver so far of the event. This is that enthusiast 370Z being driven by Jonathan Wheeler. He's been getting faster every year, and we know he really wants to peck that record out. The one thing that you'll never notice from the shot of the S's is how severely different the elevation is from entrance to exit. Here it is, Jamie Santos with a 133.961. Set a flyer on his first one, did a cool down, came back, ran an even faster lap. Looking at radar, the green is still coming in. We do still have a weather pattern coming in. It doesn't look as severe as it could be, but it is still coming at us. Race control is telling me that the width of the storm, it's not as wide, it is still coming at us, but it seems to be narrowing down. So with any luck, knock on wood, these drivers can actually have a complete day of laps before it gets crazy. Luckily for us, this entire event runs from about 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. We run back to back to back to allow FD to have the track in the afternoon. So it gives our drivers a chance to really set these flyers. The negative of that, of course, is if you have any issues in an early session, you do not have as much time to get the car back together and back out there. But that's time attack, my friends. Corey Ross and his BMW M3 just set his fastest lap of the event, a 135.202. And Mr. Jeremy Lauder really starting to cut lap time out down to a 139.532. Patrick Laughlin with 149.95 in that Rush SR. That would be his fastest lap of the event so far, followed by Sean Bassett at a 144.
Should I get my jacket off?
We may have some reports of a little light drops of rain starting to come. The weather is coming from the west, which is, if I'm not mistaken, coming from the back straight side, but we may have a few drops coming in on track. So anyone out there that's trying to set a flyer, they really need to do it ASAP. That looked like Zach Sober doing a cool down lap, ready to send it. That was about 40 seconds slower than his fastest, so a good amount of time to cool down the brakes, cool down the tires, and go out to set another flyer. Behind him, Sean Bassett, almost matching exactly his previous lap time. Very consistent out there right now. Jamie Santos, a 146.4, going for a flyer. He's been running one fast, one slow, one fast, one slow. If he keeps running this way, he's about to beat his 133 on this lap. There it is, Zach Sober with a 136.377. Fastest lap he's run so far in this session. This is a checkered flag for Group 2, Session 1. Checkered for Group 2, Session 1. Anyone who is out on a flyer, that lap obviously will count. Everyone else will be coming in. Sean Bassett, fastest lap he's run so far on his final lap, a 142.465. We are 5 minutes away from Group 1, Session 1 going out. Once again, we are 5 minutes away from Group 1, Session 1 going out. Does look like we have cars gridding up for Group 1, Session 1. We have cars gridding up for Group 1, Session 1. So here we have Phil Grabo in his Subaru STI leading out the field, followed by Mr. Jason Guzman in his Nissan GTR. Third car on this group, can't miss that one. That's Amir Betatu in his Honda NSX. Rusty Biddle in his GTR, followed by Alexander Gallardo in his Nissan 350Z. Looks like we do have a Chris Boersma here at the very back of the field, ready to go out. It is great to see Chris back out here. We have missed our Canadian friends so. This is going to be the last run group of session one, group one, session one. It is going to go hot in 2 minutes, and then we'll be back at 10:05 for the next set of time attack sessions. Hopefully the weather stays and these drivers can get another set of runs in, but if it does not, these guys are going to do everything they can to set the fastest lap possible right now. This may be the last time we see the RS Future Amir NSX in street class. I believe this is his last event of street. He's going to be moving to Unlimited in that car, and he's been on a tear in this car. Set the record at COTA. His only thing is this track has bit him a few times. He just really wants to set a flyer. We know Amir's a competitor, and his biggest thing is setting the record everywhere he goes. He traveled here all the way from California. He did not want to make that trip in vain, so hopefully he has a chance to lay down the fastest lap he can in the time frame allotted. For those of you wondering the time Amir is chasing, that's going to be Jackie Ding's record of a 1:26.498 that he set here last year. And here we have the first flying lap of Group 1, Session 1. This is going to be Philip Grabo in his Subaru STI Element Tuning. Behind him, that is going to be Mr. Jason Guzman in his Nissan GTR. And there's Amir Bentatu in his Street Class NSX, followed closely by Mike Osborne. And there is Chris Borsman, the limited class Honda Civic. This will be our first set time of 1:36 by Philip Grabo, but Jason Guzman with a 1:30.079. Just look like Jason's a little impatient, but Amir Bentatu with a 1:29.559, his very first lap of the event. Again, to remind you, he's trying to chase a 1:26.498, so he is 3 seconds off of it so far. But we'll see what he can lay down. It does look like we have our first lightning strike of the event. The weather is getting closer. Just southwest of us, we had our very first lightning strike. So if it wasn't already in dire needs to set a lap time, these drivers definitely want to get these ones down. Glad to see it made it through the entire first session before we saw anything. Looks like we do have a little bit of sparkage here. That is a splitter dragging. That was, yeah, he's completely dragging a splitter. Amir set about a second faster lap on his second lap with a 128.497. Chris Borsma with a 135.969, 6 seconds faster than his first lap. He's getting back into the swing of things here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. The limited front wheel drive record is a 127.745 held by William Al Young in his Acura RSX. Jason Guzman with a 127.912. That is 5 tenths off of the record, which he himself holds. Jason Guzman in 2021 set a 127.292 in the later sessions of day two. So he does have plenty of time to touch that record if the weather permits. Amir Scar getting a little squirrely down 12. This is him setting up for a flyer. He cost himself a little bit of speed on the front straight, but let's see where he can pick that back up. His team does have that car very well sorted, though. Seeing him go for lap after lap, great fun. There's Phil with his fastest lap of this session with a 133.951. That's Amir pushing as hard as he can right there with 128.343. He's picked up time on every single lap. If his team can get back into the pits, look at the data, make some adjustments, I do feel that they could have the record in their grasp. Now, the real question is, will Mother Nature allow them to do that? Jason Guzman still holding the fastest lap of this session, a 127.912, just 5 tenths off of his record. Amir coming back into the pits after running what looked like 4 complete laps. It's good to see his team really has that car sorted. We have about 3 minutes left in this session, so if any team does want to get back out there, they're going to have to do it quickly. This is Group 1, so we will see more cars coming in to get the cars checked out, tire temps, pressures. For the most part, the fastest cars in the series, the fastest cars of the event, tend to not be able to run lap after lap because they are set up for maximum attack, not lapping days. We are going to checker flag this session. This is going to be the end of Group 1, Session 1. We did get through the entire first session with no weather. We did have a lightning strike about 3 miles out and a few reports of a couple drifts, but nothing serious coming in yet. For those of you here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, feel free to come over to the GTA paddock, talk to the drivers, see what's going on. Here are the class standings. Zachary Sober leading enthusiast car now with a 136.377, followed closely by Jonathan Wheeler at a 138.126. Robert Rushton with a 138.426, just 3/10 off of Jonathan Wheeler, and Gregory Formosa at a 141.729. The very front of enthusiast class is looking very competitive today. Street class being led by Amir Bentitude at 128.343, followed by Drew Turner at 133.576. Tony Fuentes nipping at Drew Turner's heels with 134.858. K.N. Ding with a 143.1. Matt Bohall at a 149.2. And Corin Tyson at a 150.224. Limited class being led by Jason Guzman, chasing his own record of a 127.292, just 7/10 off so far with a 127.912, followed by Mike Osborne at a 132.8 and Jamie Santos at a 133.961. The podium for Limited is going to be very contested because we have Corey Ross at a 134.8 and Chris Boersma at a 135.9. Mr. Phil Grabo leading Unlimited class at a 133.9, followed by Jeremy Lauder at a 139.5 and Kevin Parlett at 139.8. Kevin Parlett picked up multiple seconds every lap he was out there. He's in a brand new car, getting used to it. So I feel by the end of this event, we're going to see Kevin pushing for the front. Patrick Laughlin in his Rush SR with a 149.95 leading Pro Comp. Right behind him is Sean Bassett in his full carbon tube chassis 240 at a 142.465. One of the most beautiful cars we see out here. This is our schedule for the rest of the day. We'll be back 10:05 live with more Time Attack on track, weather permitting, of course. See you back here at 10:05 Eastern. We'll go ahead and let this break happen. Here we are back at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta for Global Time Attack Round 1. As you can see on these camera feed, we do have the rain. It has come in. Because of the rain and because of the lightning strikes, we cannot run a drone and we're not going to have anyone moving anything on the roof out of safety. So we will give you the best coverage possible. Make sure you see these lap times and we'll keep you up to date with what's going on track. Radar is showing that it's probably just going to be the first two groups that have to deal with the brunt of this. Group 2 and Group 1 should have a clearer track. Obviously, the track is going to be damp. Lap times will not be optimal until we get a dry line, but it looks like we will be good for the rest of the day if everything holds strong with radar. Cars are going hot on track. If you're just joining us, we're going to go ahead and throw up these class standings for you from the first run group. Leading enthusiast class with a 136.377, Mr. Zachary Sober, followed closely by Jonathan Wheeler at 138.126. Robert Rushton is right on Jonathan Wheeler's heels with a 138.424, and Gregory Formosa with a 141.729. The podium of enthusiasts is contested well today. Hopefully, they get a few more dry runs between today and tomorrow to see who can really lay down the fastest lap. Street class is being led by Amir Bentatu with a 128.343. He was picking up time every lap he did, so hopefully he gets a couple more dry sessions to try and nip at the heels of Jackie Ding's record of a 126.498. Drew Turner in second with a 133.5, followed very closely by Tony Fuentes with 134.8. Limited class being led by Jason Guzman, who set the record here last year at a 127.292. He's nipping the heels of his own record with a 127.912. Second place is Mike Osborne with a 132.824. Nipping at Mike's heels is Jamie Santos with a 133.961, and Corey Ross just behind him at a 34.8. Let's not count out Chris Boersma, though, guys, a 135.969. We know the kind of speed he brings to these events. So give him a couple dry sessions. I'm sure we'll see him fighting for the lead. Unlimited class is being led right now by Phil Grabo at a 133.951, followed by Jeremy Lauder at a 39.5 and Kevin Parlett at a 39.8. Kevin's another one of those drivers that is just tearing time off every time he goes out. So hopefully with a few dry sessions, we'll see him pushing to the top. Pro Comp being led by Patrick Laughlin in the Rush SR with a 149.95, being followed by Sean Bassett at a 142.4. Both these drivers were shaving time lap after lap, so we should see a good competition between them. Out on track right now, we have Mr. Mani Sar in his Honda Civic, followed by Andrew Purvis in his Ford Mustang GT, Druv Bazar in his BMW E36 M3, and Taylor Maytak in his 325i. We have Mark Maytak behind Taylor in a 340i. Robert Velasquez and Nick Bright, card 999, the Honda Civic EX. He is out on track. For those of you that have been following us for a long time, or anybody that's raced at Road Atlanta at this time of year, you know it is always a roll of the dice with the weather. We'll have years where it's clear and beautiful and it's ready for lap times to be set. We'll have other years like this that bring a little bit of drama. You had a very clean session one, though track was not optimal. We didn't have any sunshine to heat up the surface. It was overcast from the beginning of the day. At least they had clean laps. Now we have rain coming down for what could be 1 to 3 run groups. or 1 to 3. Yeah, groups 1 to 3. So maybe the last group, maybe the last two groups will get some clean laps in, but of course it'll be on a suboptimal track. Hopefully this clears up and it lets the drivers get a few more laps in the sessions before and after lunch, and tomorrow they have a clean day because we have a lot of fast drivers here today ready to set some lap times. You can see the speed and lap differential between dry and wet. It's pretty obvious to everyone watching that you're going to have significantly slower laps. So we're talking 15, 20 seconds a lap right now. There's a lot of commitment that comes with Road Atlanta. There are some tracks where the dry and wet laps are not necessarily so far apart, but with turn 12, the S's, there's so many areas here where you have to be committed to the corners. And with the lack of grip that comes with rain, it's very hard to commit. It does look like Taylor Maytak was able to pick up a little bit of time between his first and second lap. Andrew Purvis was about a second off. We still have Andrew leading the session with a 2:04.446. And there goes car 999 for its first true flyer. Looks like they went out, came back in, had some things checked, and then went back out again. Let's see if they can lay down a lap time. There's Andrew Purvis running within a couple thousandths of his last lap, being very consistent in the rain. Taylor Maytak with a 2:01.575 now leading this session. For those of you listening on the stream, and obviously those here at Road Atlanta, the Thunder is coming strong. There's car 999 with a 201.584, just about a thousandth off of the fastest lap of the session. Great recovery by those guys. They're really pushing hard. Radar is showing that the weather is pushing past us relatively fast, so for all intents and purposes, it does look like these drivers will get some dry laps later in the day. We'll see how long it lasts during this set of run groups, but hopefully we get some dry sessions towards the end of this and more for the next run group. It does look like from race control, card 999 is off at turn 8. We are going to have to send Toe to go pick him up. They got a nice lap time in. They recovered from their last session, but it looks like those problems are still looming over their car. Here are the Session 2 Group 4 standings. We have a 201575, car number 18, Taylor Matyak. Car 999, the vehicle that had to be towed off, driven by Nick Velasquez, Robert Velasquez and Nick Bright with a 201584. Mr. Andrew Purvis with a 204446. Those are the three fastest of this session. It does look like the rain had sped up a bit and then slowed back down. We have lightning about a mile south of us, but it looks like everything is passing. So we do have cars going hot here for Group 3, Session 2. Jake Graham starting his first flyer. That's in his Subaru WRX limited class car. There we have Gregory Formosa also starting his first flyer. For those of you watching, obviously you're wondering, what are these drivers thinking? What is the point of going out in the wet versus waiting for it to dry? And that's twofold. Some drivers want to stay in the groove. They want to keep driving even in the rain. Even though they know they're not going to set a faster lap, it keeps their mindset right. It lets them see how the track is developing. Other drivers, they're just going to wait. They understand that this rain is going to pass. They're going to have a few dry sessions today and hopefully a complete dry tomorrow to be able to set those flyers. They really have to weigh the risk versus reward. There are those drivers that are going to run every session no matter what. It's how they're trained, how they're ingrained. You just can't stop people from doing what they're going to do. While other drivers are going to weigh the risk versus reward and say, hey, we've already set a fast lap in the first dry session. Let's go ahead and wait this out, see what we can do when the track starts to dry up. Obviously, they have the same information we do, and they're hearing what we're saying. They know that radar shows that this is going to pass. That doesn't mean they're going to have an optimal track immediately after, but there is a really good chance we could develop a dry line quickly and they could start setting fast laps again. That is the benefit of having cars out in the rain or having cars out when the rain is subsiding. The more cars that drive over the line on track, the drier the track becomes on that line. Obviously, the track will still be damp, but as the dry line develops, speed ramps up. Then you weigh the risk versus reward of, can I set a fast lap on this dry line? Because they know that going off of said line creates a higher risk. It's part of the excitement of tracking, racing, time attack. Obviously, every driver out there would want to have the most optimal settings to be able to set a fast lap, but that's not what the world gives you. You got to go with what you got. Jake Graham currently running a 159.379. He is the fastest out here of this session, followed by Gregory Formosa at a 205.915. There's KN Ding running a 213.604 on his first flyer. There's Jake Graham running within about 8 tenths of his last lap. It is nice to get that confidence all wheel drive gives you in the rain. All wheel drive, front wheel drive, they tend to have a lot more confidence in the rain. It's the rear wheel drive guys that really have to tiptoe around the track. It does look like these three drivers are trying to get as much seat time on track as possible. Obviously, they showed up to race and they will race in whatever condition possible, including Jake Graham, who just shaved 2 complete seconds off his fastest lap with a 157.282 in the rain. Just for reference, we would have 10 cars out in this run group. So this really opens up the track for these drivers, letting them test and try things. Obviously, you can't go full tilt in the rain, but what you can do is you can see how the track is developing, try to figure out your lines when the car dries up. It gives the driver that extra split second to really see what's going on. See, hey, when the track dries up, I can push a little harder here. I could track out more there. Whatever it takes to pick up lap time is what matters to these drivers. And then we have Gregory Formosa, who on his first lap ran a 2:05, followed by a 2:01. And I don't know if the track's getting better or if he's feeling more confident because he just pulled 7 seconds off his lap time and ran a 1:54. That may be indicative to the track getting better, a small dry line starting to develop, and it could also be indicative of him just gaining more confidence in the car in the rain. Same thing with K. Ding. Came out, ran a 2:13 his first lap, just ran a 2:054 his fastest lap of this session. So it really could be both. It's hard as a driver to go out there and push as hard as possible in the rain. So I think it's a small combination of, as you can see, the rain is not coming down anywhere near as hard anymore, and the track is probably starting to feel better to these guys. You get some driving on the lines, you tend to get less standing water, which just gives you a little bit more confidence. There's Jake Graham also shaving time at a 156.179. Luckily for you guys out there and our production team, it looks like we're almost ready to get permission from the tower to go back up with our drone and our cameraman up on the roof. So we'll get you a little bit more coverage. You can see how this track has developed in the rain. Road Atlanta doesn't usually have that much standing water. It is a very well, not just maintained track, but set up in a way where there aren't that many areas water can stand. In heavy downpour, the S's start to become very wet and it will pool at the bottom. But luckily for us, the rain wasn't that severe. There is the end of Group 3, Session 2. Gregory Formosa with the hottest lap out there with a 154.225. Jake Graham right behind him at a 155.898. KN Ding with a 205. For those of you viewing online, this is our schedule for the day. We're in Time Attack Session 2 right now. That's running between 10:05 and 11:20. We are gridding up and getting ready to go out for Group 2, Session 2. That is Group 2, Session 2. We'd like to thank our sponsors: Yokohama Tires, Garrett Advancing Motion, Ineos Oils, Ignite Race Fuel, CSF, Raise Wheels, Competition Clutch, Meister Watches, Revolution, and Dab X. It does look like we have a car hot on track. We have Corey Ross out there starting his first flyer. It is a BMW M3 being followed by Mr. Sean Bassett in his Pro Comp 240Z. So there you have Corey Ross winning a 202. Now, some of you may have not been here in the earlier sessions. So, for a point of reference, in session one, Corey actually ran a 134.835. Now, this is his first lap out here on a damp track. Take him a little bit of time to get confident with it, but that is a big speed differential. That's what you see here at tracks that require such high commitment to go fast. You just can't push the car as hard as you would like to in the rain. You can really see him tiptoeing down turn 12 right there. The car was, even at those speeds, pitch and yaw. He really had to fight it down that turn. What you can't tell on camera is just how extreme of a downhill turn 12 is. Sitting here in the tower looking out, we are basically at eye level with the driver at the top of this tower. Looks like Corey Ross had enough time on the wet. He got a pretty decent lap in, but his second lap was quite a bit slower. It's obviously still damp out there, and it's hard to continue to push at that level. Considering he is in a limited class car, that car is built more extreme than the enthusiast and street class cars that could possibly continue to run here in the wet. But it's pretty obvious that he doesn't want to keep pushing it. It's nice to see the track is drying out, which gives him good hope that his next time out he'll have a nice dry track to drive on. As you can see from this shot, the clouds aren't as severe. There's open sky in the background. A majority of the system has completely passed us. I don't think we see anything coming in on radar that's going to make this day worse. It looks like everything is getting better. As you can see from here, it's still very damp out there. It is pretty quiet on track right now, but we're very confident that after lunch it's going to get hot again. There you go. You got Sean Bassett out there picking up good lap time. First lap out on track was a 2:22. He's all the way down to a 2:09.3 now. You can really see through the S's how the line is drying out. Obviously, water runs down that section, so it gets drier much faster. We're going to have Group 1, Session 2 hot in a few minutes. Group 1, Session 2. Don't know how many cars we'll see going out, but it's good to see the track already drying up. After lunch, the first session should be much better. And as we will be going 4, 3, 2, 1, the Group 1 and Group 2 guys will have a very good chance to have some fast laps. As you can see out there, we have our grid guy ready to send people on track, but no one from Group 1 is willing to go out here in the rain. This is the fastest of all groups, tends to have the more high strung and aggressively set up cars, and asking these guys to push it in the rain is just usually a proposition you won't see. Even there in the pits, though, it's starting to get dry. You can really see from this drone the color difference on the areas, even where cars in the pits are driving. It's drier than where the parked cars are. So we should see some good laps being turned after lunch. Look at that. We have one person willing to prove me wrong. I'm sure Drew Turner is loving this track to himself. It's not very often you get to drive Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta and be the only car out there. He's going to feel the car out on his warm up lap, see how confident he is to send it. But I'm sure we'll see a few laps out of him. All right, and here we have Drew Turner starting his first hot lap. It's still pretty wet there in the braking zone of turn one. It's going to be hard to really push in that section. We're going to get to see him take these lines through the S's. Looks like the car is handling the wet pretty well. You can really see that dry line starting to develop where all the drivers have been. Now here he's probably going to use less curb than usual. Going to not touch the inside curb and track out without touching the outside. That's usually a section you would really use the outside curb to carry speed, but going over any curbing in the rain is just a great way to upset the car, and the last thing you want to do is upset the car out here. And there's Drew Turner with a 2 minute flat, 0.459. For reference, Drew ran a 133.576 on his first session. So lost about 27 seconds. If he continues to push, though, I'm sure we'll see this drop significantly. Every driver in the previous session with much worse conditions was chopping seconds off of the laps. Even though it's in suboptimal conditions, Drew Turner gets to have the memory of having the world famous Road Atlanta to himself as he goes through 10A and 10B, coming down to 11 and 12. Car getting just a little twitchy at the top, but nice and planted down the hill. 154.212 shaves 6 seconds off that first lap. And it does look like Drew Turner is done pushing for the day. He did pick up some good time from lap one to lap two, probably just wanted to feel the track out. He knows that he has a complete other session after lunch ready to go. So hopefully we get some dampness removed from this track. And the first few sessions, we have more drivers to really set that dry line. So this is the schedule for the rest of the day. We are ending time attack session two. We'll be taking lunch from 11:25 to 12:40, and we'll be back on a hot track at 12:45. For those of you wondering what tomorrow's schedule is like, we will start once again at 8 a.m. We'll go through 8 to 9:15, be back at 10:10 for session 2, straight into session 3 at 11:45. There will be no lunch between the second and third session, so make sure you keep that in mind if you're trying to watch or spectate here. 8 a.m. first sessions, 10:10 second sessions, 11:45 third sessions. We'll be back with you guys live at 12:45. I'm going to leave you with the current standings for the day so you can see where everyone sits, and we'll catch you back hot at 12:45.